Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my mother stole my new car to punish me and dared me to press charges on her. Guess what I ended up doing? Here is what happened. Subscribe to Ripe on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. My mother is what some people might consider a little bit off. If you ask me though, I would be blunt and tell you that she is totally insane and an entitled, horrible person. I know that might sound harsh considering she is my mother, but she has done some horrible things lately that I cannot forgive and forget. A lot of the problems started when I started dating the woman that I would later marry. I loved her more than anything, and she was the perfect soulmate for me. My mother did not like her, and it was not because of any actual reason or personality trait, it was just because my girlfriend did not have as much money as my family did. I won't get into too much detail, but in some Asian households, mine being one of them, the parents will judge a potential spouse heavily on what kind of economic class they are in. My girlfriend was not actually poor, but to my mother, she might as well have been. I did not care though, because I follow my heart and continued to date her. Every step was a pain, with my mother trying to get me on dates with other women and telling me constantly to dump her. She was not happy when I proposed to my girlfriend, and I was close to not inviting my mother to my own wedding. I did not want to cause a bunch of family chaos though, so I let her come and could only hope that she would behave. She was pretty nasty and even tried to spill wine on my wife's wedding dress and then claiming it did not matter because it was cheap. Nothing horrible happened though, and we made it in one piece and went off to our honeymoon. Before the wedding, I had gotten a new car, a Corvette. I was a little worried because we didn't have a garage or anything and we were going to be gone for a week. So I set up a dash camera and GPS just in case somebody broke into or tried to steal the car. Always better to be safe than sorry. On the third day of my trip, I got an alert on my phone that my car was on the move. I started freaking out and thinking that it was stolen. The footage showed though that it was actually my mother that got into the car using a spare key I had hidden, and I was following it on the GPS. I called her right away because I had no idea what she was doing with my car. Me? Mom, what are you doing in my car? Mother? OP, you need to learn some manners, and this is the best lesson I can give you. Me? What are you even talking about? That's my car. Mother, you disrespect me by marrying that girl. You need to come back right now and get a divorce so you can go and marry a nice girl with money. It went back and forth for a while, and the entire time I am tracking her driving my car. Finally, she tells me that I have one last chance to do what she tells me, or she is going to punish me by taking away my car. I tell her to bring my car back home and leave my wife alone, or I was going to cut off all contact with her. I was angry, and if my mother wanted to act like this, I was going to cut her out of my life entirely. She told me that she had given me a chance before hanging up. I could only watch as the car finally stopped near a river before the dashcam footage showed it going right into the river and sinking down. I was frozen on the spot, and it took my wife a while to get me back into reality, where I was angry. I texted my mother that she destroyed my car and I was going to make her pay every single penny for it back. She texted me back saying that she dared me to press charges against her because I had no proof it was her, and the entire family would hate me and my wife for accusing her. She did not know about the footage and GPS I had, so she really thought that it was just going to be her word against mine. Even though she literally texted me half admitting what she did, so I might have been fine even without footage. I tried to just enjoy the rest of my honeymoon because there was nothing I could do, and I was not going to cut the trip short because of her. When I got back though, I went to the police station and said I wanted to press charges for the theft and destruction of my vehicle. I showed them the video and pointed out to them that it was my mother who took the car and they could get a visual ID on it. I got a lawyer and waited for our day in court. The entire time I was having no contact with my mom. Meanwhile, she was telling the family that I was suing her because I needed money after marrying such a poor girl. I let her run her mouth because I knew that I was going to end up proving her wrong. She had come up with this whole story of how she did not even know I had a new car. She was a pretty good liar, but then the video evidence was shown and she knew she had been caught. Suddenly, the story changed to her just trying to be a good mother and punish her kid for misbehaving. Again, I'm a fully adult male, so she had no legal right to do anything with my car in order to punish me. It was theft, first of all, because her being my mother did not give her the right to take my car away from me. Then, with the footage and the GPS locator, I was able to prove that she was responsible for putting my car into the river. On this charge, she kept saying that she was innocent and that it was an accident when the car went into the water. The lawyers questioned why she did not call the police about the car falling into the river and instead doing nothing. In the end, it did not matter really, because since she stole the car, what happened to it was her legal responsibility. I was granted from her the money that it would cost to replace the car with the same model as the one she destroyed. When I left, I walked up to her and told her that because of this I was done with her. If she wanted to act like a good mother and respect my decision to marry my wife, then maybe one day I would reconsider. For now though, I was not going to contact her anymore, and she had basically lost her son due to her selfish and entitled nature. My wife does not deserve to be treated horribly just because she was not born rich. She is a better person than my mother will ever be, and I am so lucky to have her in my life. And yeah guys, I am definitely proud of OP in this situation for walking away from his mother and basically going no contact with her. And pretty much this is a just no mother-in-law story, just from a different perspective. Either way, let's continue to the next one. The next one is titled, HOA broke into my garden and fined me for my bird bath. I shocked them by sunbathing naked. Revenge can come in many shapes and forms, and personally, I like the approach of scaring or scarring somebody for life. A few little notes before I get into the meat of the story to answer questions that might come up. Yes, it is 100% legal where I live to be naked in your own backyard as long as it is fenced in. Second, while my HOA does not have an outright ban on bird baths, they consider it akin to lawn ornaments and furniture like gnomes or lawn flamingos. Also, I have no idea why we are not allowed to have those either. Okay, now onto the meat of the story. I turned about half of my backyard into a wonderful garden and felt like the perfect thing to go with it was a bird bath. It was not huge or anything, just a simple one where birds could land and get a nice drink of water. I did not give it a second thought until one day I came home and found that the lock on my gate had been broken. This is the only way into the backyard from outside of the house, and I didn't know why anybody would want to break in. Well, the answer was obvious when I saw my bird bath was just totally gone. I had planned to call the police and looked at my cameras to see if the people could be identified on tape. It was a bunch of HOA board members that had shown up and just gotten rid of my bird bath. They even brought bolt cutters to get my gate lock open. At the time I did not even know what rule it was going against to have one, but the fact that they broke onto my property and stole it instead of talking to me made my blood boil. The fact they even know it was there was odd and meant they had looked over my fence into my yard at some point, which honestly is just as creepy to me as breaking into the yard. Instead of calling the police, I decided that I was going to get my own brand of revenge on them, and the first step was to get another bird bath. I know it might sound crazy and seems like I was just asking for it to get stolen again, but the thing was, that was exactly my plan. I did not even fix the bolt on the gate so that it still could latch closed, but there was no actual lock like before. I knew that they wouldn't show up if they knew I was home, so I parked my car in my garage, which I never do, and turned off my house lights. It looked like nobody was home, but in fact I was in the backyard sunbathing right near the bird bath. I was also totally naked as I was getting a nice tan and waiting to see what would happen next. When I heard the gate open and voices, I did not bother saying a word or alerting them that I was there. It was not until they finally fully got into the yard did they come face to face with my naked self and immediately panicked. They got out of there so fast, and the hardest part was containing my laughter until I was sure they were gone. The joy was a little short-lived because I got a fine from them in the mail from having the bird bath, and I decided to go to the next HOA meeting in order to fight it. That was when I learned why they decided a bird bath was against the rules, and even though it was never actually stated. I am known for having a bit of a smart mouth and asked them if it was also in the rules that the HOA can trespass onto properties and remove items when nobody is home. Or if it is in the HOA laws to break into somebody's backyard and see them naked like some kind of peeping Tom. It was clear that they didn't want to push the matter and take me to court for the fine so they wouldn't get in trouble. Honestly, I did not sue them either and decided that the best way I was going to fix how the HOA worked was to actually join it. I know it sounds crazy, but the next time board elections came around, I ran and actually managed to get on the board. I did my best to work the system from the inside and stop fines that were picking on people. I would vote to let more lenient rules pass and let people get away with minor things they got fined for. I was actually damn good at that job and also made sure that the problems of the people were the main focus. Still, it was me against a bunch of others that wanted to use the HOA for their own selfish needs. The thing was that everyone else in the town loved me, and when they needed a member of the HOA, they always flocked to me for help. It did not surprise anybody, although upset a few, when I finally became president of the HOA a few years after the entire thing started. Now, with that kind of position, I had a lot of choices that I could make regarding how I wanted the HOA in this neighborhood to run. The problem was that I was still the only person involved that wanted to help instead of just making things better for themselves. At this point, I was not really getting revenge anymore, but stopping the need for future people to get it. I disbanded the HOA in my neighborhood, and since I was president, nobody could really do anything about it. The people actually liked the freedom that they were given without an HOA, meanwhile everyone else that was benefiting was fuming at me and telling me that it was not going to last. Since the HOA was officially gone for a new one to start here, they needed the support of people in the neighborhood. The thing was that nobody in the entire neighborhood agreed to form another HOA, especially once they realized that I was not going to be a part of it anymore. I was the only reason that it probably was not being boycotted and sued years ago. I have lived in a few places and seen different kinds of HOAs. If they are going to be a good one intended on helping the actual people, then I don't mind them. But if they are jerks who break into your house and bend the rules to their liking, then it shouldn't exist. And also, if any of those people want to start a fight with me, I will not have any issue showing a judge the video of them breaking into my backyard not only once but twice to try and remove something without consent. The best part of it all, now I have 2 bird baths in my backyard. And yeah, Ripe Stars, that's definitely a way on how to spite an HOA by simply having bird baths. Who would have known that that is how you can enact petty revenge on a spiteful HOA? The next one is titled, Persecuted for Compassion, Sorry About Your Career, Dude. During my bachelor studies, I fell in love with a girl from another country. She was diagnosed with a terminal illness shortly after we started dating. It was long distance, but we used any opportunity to see each other. However, there were few. One such opportunity arose in the form of a conference in her country. We were in the same field and she was involved in the organizing of the conference and got me on the list. I raised some funds to go, but another student was quite annoyed because he wanted to go and believed I had stolen his spot. He made very little effort to raise money and was not planning on giving any presentations, etc. Conference kicks off and things are going well. I am participating, presenting and representing my university very well. However, this one day my girlfriend fainted and I took her to the hospital. The illness was already known to us, so I was worried. She ended up having a minor surgery and I stayed with her in the hospital for a day and joined the conference again the next day. As planned, I stayed an extra week with her after the conference. When I got back home, I was blindsided by disciplinary action for going missing during duty travels. The other student found out I missed one day of the 7 of this conference and reported it, but grossly exaggerated it. He knew I was in the hospital with a terminally ill partner, but failed to mention this when lodging the complaints. This was a big deal because part of the funding I raised was from the government. I was facing both disciplinary action by my university, expulsion on the table, and charges brought forward by the government. I tried to appeal to his humanity, bro, she's literally dying, but he would not budge and the damage had been done. I was able to explain this in the university hearing and with a lawyer at my own cost. Literally all the money I had made over 4 years of a side job and was able to get the government charges dropped. He suffered no repercussions for this, but his thesis defense was coming up and I wanted to see if I could interfere with his session. Even pointing out a little oversight to embarrass him would satisfy me, so I studied his thesis. These are made public before a seminar. I came to the seminar very prepared. I had found a huge error in his methodology and I formulated a short, concise question to put him on the spot. The most I could expect was that this would negatively affect his final grade, and as soon as I could, I took the floor to ask this question. He went red, could not explain. And his confidence took such a knock that he was unable to adequately answer the questions that followed. The review board failed him and he had to spend another 2 semesters at the university to start the project over. This was a costly extension, tuition fees, plus he also had to fund the new thesis work himself. This was a few years ago, but I heard recently that since he missed the first intake of recent graduates from our year, he ended up at a less than ideal company which went bankrupt shortly after and has been struggling since. I did not mean for it to go that far, but I don't really feel bad about it. And the next one is titled, Kicking My Kid Out of Her Home? We are gonna make the place as uncomfortable as possible. My daughter, 19 female Nikki, grew up and was best friends with this true waste of space that I will call trash. I met her when she was 10 and I've never liked her even at that age. Just a disrespectful little hood rat constantly causing trouble. And by the way, Ripe Stars, correct me if I'm wrong, but calling someone hood rat does not really seem to be okay, and especially not when it is a 10-year-old kid. Anyway, the trash was living in a 2-bedroom townhouse but was never there because she lived with her boyfriend. Trash told Nikki that she could move in and that she would add her to the lease. Nikki was super stoked about being on her own. Unfortunately, it was not move-in ready yet. In fact, it was a biohazardous wreck. We could not breathe for the smell of cat waste and all the gnats in the air. The sink contained every single dish in the kitchen, everything covered in macaroni, beans and mold. The first day of cleaning, we took out 16 garbage bags of just junk and trash. It took us 5 days to get the place clean enough to be livable. Trash quickly realized she had a place to hang out away from her boyfriend, giving her the freedom to bang every dude in a 10-mile radius. Now, Nikki had just gotten a new job and was working from home as well as attending college courses online. She could never get anything done because Trash was always in and out with a drug dealer boyfriend in tow, ashing her cigarettes on the floor, eating all the food, just monopolizing the place. Nikki lived there about 3 weeks before Trash forgot to sign out Facebook on Nikki's computer. Nikki found messages between Trash and her boyfriend about how Trash intended to get her apartment back from that stupid girl. We moved Nikki out the next day, but I was gonna be damned if that a-hole was gonna waltz in and enjoy the space. We did a few things to make sure she was as uncomfortable as possible. We did not do any damage and we did not do anything maintenance could not easily reverse. We turned the temperature way down on the water heater to provide Trash with refreshing cold showers. We turned off the water to the toilet to prevent it from flushing. We removed every light bulb we could reach and we took absolutely anything she could use to ease her discomfort. We took the shower curtain, all the cleaning supplies, the toilet paper and every bite of food. I had given Nikki my older leather couch just a day before and I did not have anywhere to store it. I was not going to do Trash a favor by putting it on the curb, but I also didn't want her to use it, so we just cut up the cushions and made it useless. Obviously, we were not neat about packing up and vacating and did not bother to gather or dispose of any garbage. Trash was beyond pissed, which delighted me to no end. She really could not get over the light bulbs, just kept asking why we took them. Her angry confusion just made my day. And yeah, Ripe Stars, that's the end for today's stories. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you did, I would appreciate if you could like the video. Thank you so much, I hope to see you again tomorrow.